Seeing as it is 12:30, I'm gonna call the Friday, March 14th, 2025 meeting of the Economic and Community Development Committee of the Gardner City Council to order. The clerk will please call the roll.
Councillor Heath. Present. Councillor Kaczynskis.
Present.
President Tyrus.
Present.
Okay, seeing as the quorum is present, the open meeting recording notice is posted. Is anyone here recording the meeting besides the city clerk? Okay. We'll begin with item 11512, a department update from the Director of Community Development and Planning. How are you today, Director Stevens?
I'm doing pretty well. Honestly, it's been a pretty successful month, I think, compared to my last update. A lot's actually gone through that I'll be talking about during this update. First, I want to talk about the rear main project and where the status of that is, because I think that was the main crux of my address last month. There were a complaint filed with DEP and EOHLC regarding the potential of there was a complaint regarding the Pond Brook. It was addressed. Both DEP and EOHLC report was filed for DEP. EOHLC I discussed over the phone and sent some materials their way. Both of those complaints are satisfied on their end, so I just relayed that over to UEL contractors and Fuss & O'Neill today, which is probably another good thing. We have weekly updates, meetings with both of the teams as well as myself, so there is constant communication every Friday at 9 a.m., which I'm more than glad to have, so we can have consistent updates from both of them in terms of clear communication and steps that we can move forward with each week. One of which is addressing the electrical status. The actual RFI has been kind of placed in my corner to go ahead and do, which has been an interesting process. I thank the businesses and abutters who have kind of been with me on this as I have to ask them for their national grid information, as well as some information where, if you call them up and you say, I work for the city and I'm looking to get your national grid account information. So I've been actually down in person to kind of satisfy that RFI itself, and I've gotten a chance to meet a lot of the abutters as well, and make sure that they know there's a friendly face who's just looking to make sure that project gets on track. We're just waiting on, I think, one last abutter to get the information from, and that RFI will be completed, and then that could be sent off to their electricians and have that kind of squared away in terms of that problem, at least for what's in our court. The high groundwater, as well as the unsuitable material / debris, which I had mainly talked about the unsuitable material last month. As of right now, from what I hear from Fuss & O'Neill, we should get a good design update by next Friday, so March 21st. So things are moving along on their end. There's nothing left except for the electrical RFI that's currently in our court. So I'm pretty satisfied with the kind of updates that I have to at least share on that end, that things are moving forward with that project. Moving on from there, we've had some pretty big wins. The subdivision of Compass Lane actually got approved through the planning board, and I believe that is the first subdivision in, some people tell me it was 2006, some people tell me it was 1985. So it's anywhere from 20 to 40 years that the first subdivision in Gardner has been approved through the planning board. So that was just filed yesterday. We met just to do a technical amendment for a restrictive covenant, as well as a provision for consultant services to make sure that the city has their own third party appointed as an engineer to approve the construction process and make sure that, we have our insurance to make sure that everything is done correctly.
For the public watching, where is that located?
That is located just on West Broadway, right before the Templeton line.
Thank
Also, the Greenwood Pool got approved through the Conservation Commission. So the order of conditions is underway. Our conservation agent, Justin, is working on that, and we should have a good, that should be finished, the order of conditions, probably mid next week. Wednesday or Thursday is kind of the days he's giving me for that is. But I just want to highlight everyone on the team, Evan as well as Justin, really made sure that got through. I was really there as more emotional support, it felt like, during the Conservation Commission meeting, just to show that the whole department is behind the project for that meeting. But glad it got approved and looking forward to continuing the process of demolition and then eventual construction of the pavilion.
Does that help with an update of the timeline on Greenwood Pool? We get asked that question all the time from residents, like, what does it look like, what's happening with it? If you don't have an answer, that's fine.
Yeah, I can speak to that if you want. So right now the city's working to getting the stormwater permit approved with DPW. So last time I talked to Rob Oliva, it's on his desk, he's just working on that. Once that's approved on the city side, then we'll work with Ty and Bond, the contractor, to put the project out to bid for the demolition. So still hoping to get that started in April, I would say, to get like the bid in.
Okay, but that's the next step. What the next step needs to happen is then the person who has to make the step happen.
Yeah, the stormwater permit has to get approved, and then we can move on to those steps. But yeah, yep.
Thank you.
Also from Evan, the Rome building abatement is underway. I believe there might be an extra week of abatement required for that, but the demo should be done by the beginning of May.
Yeah, maybe even sooner than that. They're gonna start at the, so I don't know if you're all too familiar with the building. I know part of it is on Willow Street there. Technically 60 Willow is the address, but it's part of the same building. They'll start with that part first, demo, and then kind of go into the Main Street aspect of it. So that should be, like Jason said, in the next month or so, beginning with that.
Okay, and you anticipate it would be, the demo would be done by the end of May or beginning by the end of May?
I would say beginning of May. You know, we'll give the council any updates if anything unforeseen happens, but that's to my knowledge as of now, yes.
Okay, thank you. And just, since you brought that up too, with the Rome building, that, just because they put up like stuff around it, and so people have been asking about that as well. I don't know if this is required, but do like abutters get information when there's demo or,
So
it's in such a congested area. Not that if it wasn't, it wouldn't matter, but I was just wondering.
Yes, yeah, so we had to do that as part of the contractor, had to work to notify abutters, and then I know directly next to it is a triple decker it's currently vacant, but new tenants I think are moving in soon. We're in contact with the realtor company, and they're willing to work with us and work with them to make sure it's safe.
Thank you.
Like she just, well, like Councilor just said, as far as the way that it's gonna be done, is that gonna disrupt the traffic?
So,
Is that something that's gonna be done, cause that's a highly,
yep.
you know.
Absolutely, yeah. So the contractor is working with Lieutenant Arsenal from the Gardner Police Department, who, to my knowledge, is in control of like the traffic regulations in the city. So we're working with him. When the Willow Street demolition aspect of it starts, they will need to shut down Willow Street. I think it's only like a day, they said, or maybe 2 for that aspect. But like I said, Lieutenant Arsenal is in contact with the contractor, and they're, you know, we'll work with their schedule to make sure that's done correctly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The city is, you know, obviously they'll do it, they'll put signage out and it'll be there, it's just we get, typically constituents, like, we'll get those questions, and we just wanna know where to direct them as well too. So if they did have questions, we could always refer them to the police department as well, and just because they're gonna be in contact with, but it's good to know the plan ahead of time, so thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions on that? Sorry to keep interrupting, but.
No.
Good flow.
I'd rather do that than keep going back to everything at the end and jump around.
Thank you.
The traffic commission, I want to say, was also notified for that. So
Is Lieutenant Arsenal, is it him now for traffic commission? Is he the, I know it was a deputy chief, but then he was gone and for his training, and then I know, so did it remain that way, or is deputy chief?
It's the deputy chief again.
Okay.
in terms of the structure of the department, that's probably been the largest change, with myself included being part of that change. One of the motions that we made during the financial committee was for the merger of two positions for the department. That was the economic development coordinator as well as the finance manager. That's been approved and is going to be at city council on Monday. And then after anything happens with that, we'll, hopefully be motioning to, then hire, look for applicants and hire for that position.
And that was, I know that was specified because that was an item on the finance committee agenda during that meeting, but just for purposes of this meeting, can you just explain the two positions it was and what it will go to briefly? I know it'll be posted in public.
Yeah.
If it's all in there, but just for the purposes of the update.
So the economic development coordinator is someone who both manages some grants, Ray's grant being one of them, as well as a few others that are kind of escaping my mind. I don't have their job descriptions in front of me, but also is kind of the point of contact for downtown businesses to go to with questions, managing the sign facade that has all been expended. The vacant storefront was under their purview. The flower pot sponsor campaign as well as the banner campaign were also under their purview, so that's kind of a general overview of some of their responsibilities. And then the finance manager was in charge of our IntelliGrant system, Munis, our local books, for making sure those are all balanced between them. For anyone wondering, those are the three kind of systems that the city uses for making sure between our grants that we get awarded in the state as well as local through Munis, those are all balanced. So they kept good standing with the financials located therein, as well as quarterly reports required through, say, CDBG. But CDBG was also a big part of their purview in terms of the financial side of it as well. So we think combining the two positions kind of lends themselves to each other. There is some overlap between their work that I think will lend itself to hopefully a good candidate that fits the needs of the full job description that we put forward during the finance committee meeting.
Thank you. Okay. Good, thanks.
GRA having regular meetings again. We had the first meeting in, I believe it was 6 months. I think the last meeting prior was August 21st. So it had been quite a while, as well as the annual meeting for the IDFA. For those wondering, that's the Industrial Development Financing Authority. I was elected as the executive director of both. So I think just moving forward with that, there just has to be the next meeting to approve the minutes to then have the kind of approved documentation that I am the executive director, so I can move forward with handling the financials through Edward Jones as well as GFA, and just making sure that GFA business continues to move on as needed.
So for a couple of clarifications, you're the executive director. You would be of the GRA and IDFA?
Yes.
Okay. And that just has to be official through the vote?
Through the minutes being approved, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And I think that's enough.
That's it? That's all you've done?
Over the month, yeah. I'm probably forgetting a few things. Ray's grant, I did outreach to Department of Transportation. There was outreach done on February 20th. I did respond back just to see if there were any further updates today.
Sorry, what grant was it?
Ray's grant. And that is still with the FHWA for any kind of, so it's the Highway Authority. We're just waiting on them to kind of move forward. There's nothing left in our court. There's nothing left in the Department of Transportation. We just need to hear back from them on next steps. But I'm still getting into the kind of odds and ends of what the Raise grant is and what it would kind of entail in terms of what it would mean for the city. So
If we were awarded it, do you have like a little bit of what that would do or where it would go, or are you still trying to?
I can
Work that.
grab that,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
that was one that Director Stevens inherited. We were awarded that grant last year from the federal government. That's the various parking, mobility, and accessibility studies of the downtown, and then a 75% design of the parking garage
Okay, thank you.
for the downtown area. So that's the grant. The contract was fully executed between the federal government and the city. So now it's just next steps on what we have to do in terms of instruction for reporting and how the funding should be spent before any projects proceed from there.
Okay. Okay, great, thank you. Does that complete your report?
Yes, it does.
Thank you. There are questions, comments from the committee? Counselor?
Thank you, Madam.
President? We'll get there.
Great work. Very impressive. I think some of the things that I wrote down that I noticed, it seems like you really focused on building productive, collaborative relationships with other commissions, departments. I think a great example is the Greenwood Indoor Pool project that had been something on the books for a very long time. And I did get a chance to watch the Conservation Commission meeting. I thought, you know, the collaborative environment versus the combative environment was huge. I think you had mentioned the word team, right? I think going in with that approach and now working with the DPW and the engineer on the project, it just goes to show how interconnected this department's projects are and how important those relationships are. Super impressive, good work. Implementing change is very hard, so I know you put a lot of effort, your whole department, into this and try to sustain that momentum because it's really noticeable.
And I just want to highlight again, I would not be able to do half of what I presented on for this month without the help of my staff. And that's Evan, my assistant director, as well as my conservation agent, Justin. I would have half maybe of what I would be presenting on without their help and their ability to kind of help me through these first few months in this position. I don't know where I'd be without them.
Yeah, and you're only building these relationships too with your team, again, with these new departments. So once these relationships are established, I can't wait to see, what you guys deliver in the summer.
Yeah.
Counselor?
I don't really have much to say, except for thank you. I'm like President Travis just said. I'm excited to see where we're going with this. So thank you. That is all.
Thank you. I echo the counselors, this is the president and the counselor. This is really refreshing, especially on a Friday, to have a nice meeting going into the weekend. I really appreciate all the work that your department has done. Establishing a committee to oversee a department at the very beginning of a brand new era of the department can't be something that, is, it's gonna be tough going in knowing that this is why this is working, but this was the whole point of us doing this, and really great feedback, great work. Change is difficult, but change is good, and I think that you just have to make an example out of the work that you're doing and what our intentions were behind the oversight on the council side of it, because really the work and the management is your side of it. That's not something that we would step into. So I'm really excited also to see what happens moving forward. This is great progress. We understand month to month things are going to be different, but as long as we just keep it transparent and people, move forward with the best intentions and great communication, I think we'll be okay. No one's afraid of a hiccup. No one's afraid of a trip here and there. That's fine. But this is incredibly impressive, I think, in this last month, and I'm really excited to report on it to the council, and we'll certainly be encouraging them to watch the video of this meeting if they don't already. So thank you again. And as good as that was, we will definitely have this committee as long as we need to have it, but you're making it so that the life is getting shorter already, so. But I have to say, it's when you establish a new committee on the council side of things, just so you know too, it's not something that's taken lightly. It's not easy to do. We all have to agree to do it. We have to put our time into it as well, and that's the people that we represent. So it's a big deal for us to establish a committee for a specific purpose and to justify it. And this is going into doing that. We wouldn't be able to do that without the work that you're doing. This would be a very different meeting if we didn't get such a thorough report of great work. So again, thank you. Anything else? No? Okay. We are going to move on to item 11454, a report of the investigation of the Mackey Park project. President Tyler?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to actually ask the director if, I know there's been some work going on, with the corrections to the park, even though we're kind of exiting the winter season. Is there any update on when, the fix may be implemented?
So the only thing that we're waiting on for funding the last fix, the last ramp, I would say, for the park to make it fully ADA compliant, is currently encumbered with a contract with E.H. Perkins. E.H. Perkins is going to work with Verizon once the ground thaws. Verizon, the whole contract is Verizon moving poles, a couple electrical poles, E.H. Perkins going in and then filling in, and then whatever funds are left over after that work is completed will round out the funds that we've already set aside that are currently unencumbered to make up the full cost of the final ramp. So once that's completed and those funds are unencumbered, then we'll have the full budget and we can move forward with the construction. But until then, unfortunately, I don't have a clear date because it is still waiting on that contract.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor?
If I could just add to that, Madam Chair, the telephone poles that have to get moved are those at the Park Street Park location. The funds that were referred to are because the park came in under budget, so we have the funds available in that. If you drive by that area, you'll notice several double poles there. That's why where those poles are, there's asphalt instead of the concrete like the rest of the sidewalk. The asphalt was installed as a temporary cover because those poles have to be removed and a single pole put in. The new poles have been put in, but the old poles have not yet been removed. So that's why once those poles are removed, the asphalt will be removed and then the sidewalk is concreted over for the final concrete there. That's work being completed, and that final bill that we have is what we're just waiting for that to be released from that contract, so that when Park Street Park is officially closed, the funding can be transferred from the Park Street Park project to the Mackey Park project to put the ramp in.
And that is the only thing that needs to happen to close Park Street?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Actually, very much looking forward to those double poles being removed as well. So,
Two birds, one stone.
yeah, 2 birds with 1 stone. So,
Sidewalk looking the same way through.
yeah.
It looks incomplete, and then
It does.
it'll be complete, so
Right.
I agree.
So that's a good update. I think, Madam Chair, if we'd be all right, and there being no objection, I'd like to recommend that we leave this item on our calendar until the Mackey Park project is remediated.
Second.
I would, so a motion to do that, so a motion for more time.
Motion for more time. Thank you.
Motion made by Councilor Tyros by President Tyros for more time, seconded by Councilor Heath. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion passes. Item 11457, an ordinance to amend the code of the City of Gardner to have the Community Development Block Grant Steering Committee meet monthly. I'm going to also ask President Tyros to speak on this as well.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. So this ordinance that was proposed has actually been remediated through some other ordinance that the mayor had submitted around codifying our CDBG program. As a part of that ordinance, the mayor had implemented a procedure where the committee would meet monthly, and there being a bypass, so to speak, if the president and the mayor agree to bypass a monthly meeting if there's no update. But it sounds like we're going to be very busy with the CDBG program, so I'd like to, because of this redundancy now and this no longer be relevant with the council passing that ordinance, I'd like to move to remove item 11457 from our calendar.
Motion made by President Tyros to remove item 11457 from the committee calendar. Seconded?
Second.
By Councilor Heath. Any discussion? All I would say is, thank you, Councilor Tyros, for that. I think just one thing for the public too, when anything is put in front of us and it starts a conversation and it moves it to make something official that we need to do anyways, I think this is a good process that ended up happening, and it kind of, spearheaded something that really needed to happen anyways, and added a lot more things to the proposal from the mayor and then passed by the council. So I think it was definitely for something that we were able to do that. And that's all I have. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Motion passes. Item 11504, a resolution in support of the City of Gardner's application for the FY 2025 Community Development Block Grant Committee entitlement.
Just have some documentation. We're all here. Just raise them.
Oh wait, I gave you one.
Sorry, you each get one. Yeah,
Thank
sorry.
You're good, thank you. Okay. So did we wanna go with our assistant director, or do you want to start like?
I'll start.
Okay,
That's
okay.
Madam Chair. As always, this is the annual application by the city for the mini entitlement program for the Community Development Block Grant Program. As we've said several times before, the city is considered a mini entitlement program because we have a population under 50,000 residents. Therefore, we get our money as a pass-through through the Commonwealth's Department of Housing and Livable Communities, rather than directly from the Federal Department of Housing and Urban Development. So this is the application that the Assistant Director has put forward, working with the CDBG's steering committee. There are certain regulations in that, up to 15% can be used towards social service funding. Only 3 infrastructure improvement projects can be included into the funding that's there, so those projects do have to be bigger in terms of size, and that we are limited to 3 of those. And then some can go towards administrative costs as well, such as salaries, contracts in terms of contracts related to the reporting of CDBG or moving forward with CDBG and things of that nature. So this is the application that you have before you today.
Thank you. And you said, I'm sorry, mini entitlement is less than 50,000 in population?
Yes.
Thank you. I'll go to the director next, or I'm gonna go to the assistant director, it's up to you.
The assistant
Yeah, I can talk. As the, kind of just to piggyback up the mayor said, work with the CDBG steering committee for these proposed projects here, which I outlined in the in one of these sheets here, outlining the specific CDBG funds that we're looking to spend towards this program, along with the non-CDBG funds that the providers provided to me that they had funds for these specific programs set aside as well. We currently, I'm working with the State Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities. I sent them this list along with our budget. I have a program representative who works with me and looks through this. So they're looking through it currently right now on their end, just to, before the full application process goes through, just to make sure that they're all acceptable projects under the grant guidelines. But yeah, I think these are all great projects, definitely meet the community development strategy, which I also gave you guys as well, 2022 to 2025. And yeah, happy to answer any questions in regards to any of these projects.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor?
Thank you. This is the preliminary application for the city. So these projects are what the city submits to Housing and Livable Communities for their consideration. We normally get an award for CDBG for final approval and everything in the October timeframe.
Thank you. And then at that time, what happens? It comes back to the council?
It comes back to the city, and that's when the money gets awarded from there. So that's when the assistant director and the director will then work directly with the those nonprofit programs that are here or city departments to advance the projects that you see before you. So yeah, the council will be notified at that point for sure, as we've done in the past.
But the action of the council is now?
Is now, yes. And that's whether or not to support the application.
Thank you. Questions, comments from the committee?
Any questions?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd just like to speak briefly, because I have been a member of the CDBG steering committee. I just want to highlight, not to take away from the thunder of the director's report, but this is also another area where this department's excelled in recent months. This program is meeting more often. The meetings that I've been impressed with, the packets put together, the discussion that's had, these are important programs, especially from the social service side. We're talking about helping out our veterans, supporting our children in a flying program, user fees, domestic violence prevention action, and looking out for those people experiencing homelessness through the GEM, the Gardner Emergency Housing Mission, and that's just to name a few. This program over the past few years has run into its fair share of struggles that has been brought before the council, and I think it's great to hear the assistant director has been speaking with EOHLC.
Yeah, it's taken me a little bit to get it to.
Yeah, but we're building up those, again, relationships, partnering with our state agencies here to make sure that we're doing things the right way, we're doing things, crossing our T's, dotting our I's, and it's noticeable. So great work, happy to support this.
Thank you.
And I'm really looking forward to seeing some of these CDBG projects being funded. With that, Madam Chair, I'd like to move to recommend the council grant the resolution.
Motion made by President Tyros.
Second.
Seconded by Councilor Heath. to recommend to the council to accept the resolution. Is there a discussion on the motion? My discussion is just that I echo certainly what President Tyros has said. If anything, at least in the last 5 years, I think that I've learned, particularly with just the way that grants and funding works, is this is showing how like streamlined this is, and I think that's the whole point of meeting regularly and all of those things. Like if you just do it, the history's all there, they can see what you do. Establishing that relationship with HLC too, they see what the city puts into what your effort is. The state responds very well to that. We've been very successful with what we put in locally, and we're lucky to have this funding. I don't think people really realize there's so many things in the community that we can support through the funding that that is available to us, but we have to go get it. We have to participate in the program. We have to make the relationships. We have to submit the application. There's things that we need to do, but if you do it well, successfully, and consistently, it's very likely you're going to receive that, funding in the future, because they know that the city is committed to putting their funds into it, and so they can get, funds from the state. And that goes for a number of different grant and funding opportunities that we get federally, as well as through the state, and that's why those relationships are so important. And so I really appreciate that. This looks great. I think all of these things make sense, and it really shows that the community supports these social services programs that are, quite frankly, incredibly important in the environment that we have right now, but always are in our community. We do the very best that we can to do that, and we're very lucky that we can do that, and it's with other funds that are outside of our local funds. So I totally agree. I think this looks great. Looking through the packet and the meat of it before, it all seems to be very thorough, very well thought out, and again, appreciate the hard work on it. And then in the future, it's just gonna, you can just kind of reset and do it again next year, that kind of a thing. So looking forward to, the next few months, what we get back in the fall. Okay.
Something I didn't mention, actually, this application will be due mid-next month, right?
April 14th, yes.
April 14th. So it also doesn't go unnoticed that this has been submitted almost a little over a month ahead. The council, it'll be on our full agenda on Monday, and it gives us the opportunity, if there's questions or if there's more time that's asked to go through the application, we can do that. So again, a better partnership with the city council, getting these things in ahead of time too. So good work.
Thank you.
One thing I'd just like to add, the downtown Phase 5 project that you see on the grid in front of you, that's the improvements to Rome Square, once the demo is done, just to explain what that is there too, because it is one of the larger dollar amounts that you have there too. So that's the design and then the eventual construction to improve the intersection that's there.
Thank you.
I just wanted to say briefly, thank you all for your comments, and just in terms of like the committee, or the CDB steering committee, piggybacking off what President Tyros had mentioned, I just find the meetings to be really engaging, and I really appreciate like everybody coming in and giving their feedback. I know Councilor Heath was at one of the meetings as well too, and yeah, with me just being new to the community, I just really appreciate the engagement for all the community members, and I just wanted to say that, so thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anything further? So this is on the motion to grant the resolution made by President Tyro, seconded by Councilor Heath. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Motion passes. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by President Tyro, seconded by Councilor Heath to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion passes. Meeting stands adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Madam Chair.